I admit, I got it bad for bubbles. When I was a kid, I used to beg to watch Lawrence Welk. I'd wash Dad's car for free. I bathed every night. Later, I discovered culinary bubbles. Champagne, whipped cream, light frothy mousses. These were but a few of my favorite things. Eventually, I moved on to the quantum foam of the food world, a dish that inspires as much fear as appetite. The souffle. Fortunately, soufflés are not the monsters their mythology makes them out to be. In fact, a world-class cheese soufflé demands only a handful of basic ingredients, some essential skills, and of course a confident handler. Stay tuned, won't you? Because I'm going to get my bubbles under control and get us all into some goodies. Rich yet light. Airy yet flavorful. You know, it's been a long time since we encountered such conflicting characteristics. Well, it's our old pie crust cronies, flaky and tender. Truth is, soufflés aren't conflicted at all. They are in perfect zen-like balance. See, the lightness comes from protein-laden egg whites whipped into a bubbly battalion, while on the other hand, the richness comes from a yolk-enforced base or sauce. Now, bringing these two things together is an act of simple culinary matchmaking, but we do have some preliminaries to get out of the way first. Step one. Turn on the oven. Although there are a few exceptions, 375 is my souffle rule. Now, we must prep the souffle that the souffle will souffle in. Souffle is French for puffed up. Weird. True soufflés come in many sizes, but only one shape, round. Now, here we have a number 7 souffle, which holds right at 1.25 quarts. Perfect for a 5 to 6 egg souffle, serving, well, 3 to 4 people, depending on how hungry they are. Now, any tall-sided ceramic vessel will work for a souffle, but a true souffle does have some characteristics which are worth noticing. For instance, the fluted exterior. Pretty, yes, but functional too. It actually increases the surface area out here, and that means faster heat absorption. Also, the bottom is unglazed. Now, there are a lot of guys out there with funny accents and tall hats who will tell you that that unglazed surface, because it is porous, also absorbs heat faster. Are they right? I buy it. Soufflés grow best when they can get hold of the side of the vessel. So we're going to create a little bit of traction by applying a layer of ground, not grated Parmesan cheese in here. So we're going to have some kind of glue to make it stick. For that, we've got butter. So just rub this on. Be sure to use cold butter. Don't try to use melted butter. It's going to take about a tablespoon of parm. You want to use a little more than you think you would need. There. I'll cover that with plastic wrap. Thusly, nice and tight. And shake. The goal, of course, is to cover every surface inside possible. Everything, all the way up to the lip. There. Now, if we've called it right, there shouldn't be much left over. Not even enough for a plate of spaghetti. There. See, we've got good coverage all the way around. Not every molecule is covered, but enough. This goes into the freezer. Keeping the butter cold means that it will melt slowly, and that's going to give our souffle a better shot at upward mobility. Traditional savory soufflés depend on a modified white sauce as a base. All white sauces, of course, have two things in common: milk and a roux. We've spoken ruefully before, I know, but some lessons do deserve repeating. A roux is a paste in which flour granules are suspended in melted butter. In this case, we're talking about 3/4 of an ounce of flour. It's roughly 3 tablespoons, and 1.5 ounces of butter, which also happens to be 3 tablespoons. Now, while the butter melts over medium heat, we will assemble the remaining ingredients. A teaspoon of dry mustard, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a heavy pinch of kosher salt round out the dry goods, while the wet team includes a cup and a third of milk, heated in the microwave to speed things up, 2.5 ounces of egg yolks, that's 4 large yolks, and 6 ounces of sharp cheddar cheese, weighed and grated. Is it safe? Is it safe? Look, Roux's only got one purpose in life, right? To coat every single flour granule with fat so that when the hot liquid is introduced, there won't be any clumping. Well, butter is 6 to 8% water. So if you dump that in there before the water's cooked out, in other words, before it stops bubbling, what's going to happen? It's going to clump. So I ask you, is it safe? It's safe. Oh, no, wait. There's no reason not to go ahead and add the salt, the mustard, and the garlic powder. But we don't want that to clump in there, so we'll just take that and give it a shake. Okay. Now, whisk this in and cook it over low heat for about 2 minutes or until you smell something nutty. There. That looks just right. Okay, go ahead and add the hot milk. And we're going to turn the heat to high. Now, wheat proteins won't gelatinize completely, that is thicken, until they boil. And that's going to happen a lot faster if you start with hot milk. Okay. Meanwhile, we're going to beat these yolks until creamy and light yellow, all right? That'll help to denature some of the proteins and evenly distribute the fats so that these will be a lot less likely to scramble when they join the hot party over there. Of course, we will have to take some other precautions, too. That's because egg proteins coagulate at about 140 degrees. And as you can see, it is considerably hotter than 140 degrees in there. I'm even going to turn that off. What's the answer to solve this discrepancy? We're going to temper the eggs. Here's how. We're going to take just a little bit of the hot mixture on our whisk and add it to the yolks and whisk briskly. There. And again. Now this is going to accomplish 2 things. One, it's going to very slowly increase the heat of the yolks. They'll be a lot less likely to curdle that way. And also, some of the starch from the sauce is going to get worked in between the proteins in the yolk, and that'll provide even more insurance. I'm just going to add a little bit more of this. There. Nice and smooth, no curdling. Now this goes back into here. Whisking constantly. Scoop out every bit of that you can. We want the enriching power of those eggs. Right. Now, the only thing lacking is the cheese, please. There we go. I'll just slowly melt that in over no heat at all. Wow, that is rich and it's salty and cheesy, which is good because although a souffle base makes up less than 50% of the souffle mass, it does provide 100% of the flavor. Now, I like to use my base right away, but you can refrigerate yours for up to a week as long as you remember to press a sheet of plastic wrap right down on top. And of course, you have to bring this to room temperature before you can work it into the foam. Speaking of foam, it's a good thing I keep individually frozen egg whites on the premises at all times because just about every souffle recipe on earth calls for more whites than yolks. It's just the way it is. Here we have the shellmates of the 4 yolks we worked into the base earlier, plus 1 orphan now harvested from last month's curd making. I thawed it in the fridge overnight. Remember, always separate eggs when cold, but always whip whites at room temperature and never invite even a speck of yolk to the party because yolks are made mostly of fat and fats deflate foams, which is also why we don't work whites with plastic tools. Why? Well, because fat and plastic share molecular structures. In fact, they're so similar to one another that they often bond together, so much so that even a serious washing can't drive them apart. Ugh. As a result, Plastic utensils often harbor enough fat molecules to crash a batch of whites. Oh, and here's the new rule. When it comes to building egg foams, you can usually replace 25% of the egg whites with water, H2O, at a rate of 1 tablespoon per white. There'll still be plenty of bubble-blowing protein to go around, but the lighter mass will foam a lot faster. I gotta find a new maid. So, we have our 5 room temperature egg whites, plus 1 tablespoon of water in a scrupulously clean metal bowl. Hey, wait up there, big hand. The worst mistake that novice souffleurs make is overbeating their egg whites. That is, stretching the protein so much that the resulting foam isn't flexible enough to stand up to the expansion of the oven. Now, increasing the acidity of the whites will help this because it keeps the proteins from binding to one another too tightly. Any acid will do the trick, but I like cream of tartar, an acidic salt derived from wine grapes. Never leave foam without it. About 1/8 of a teaspoon per foam will do. Now we beat. Want to start with a low speed until the whites just get frothy. Now, I don't have anything against stand mixers, but a hand mixer seems to be a better tool for this because it can keep a smaller amount of whites moving at one time, and that's important. Now, as soon as we've got a nice foam, we can put the spurs to her. Okay, stop. Great. Now, lift the beater straight up and turn the mixer over. There. See? We've got strong peaks. They can stand, but they don't quite stand straight. That's what you want to see. Down here, glossy but not dry. Now, if we had kept going, the proteins would have eventually squeezed out their moisture and they would have collapsed in a useless watery heap. This is no longer viable foam fodder. Luckily, eggs are cheap. But enough talk. In a few minutes, this foam will begin to collapse under its own weight. Time to fold. Now we have our freshly formed foam, our room temperature base, and of course, our prepped souffle on deck ready to go. Now here's the thing, and this is what souffles are all about. We need to bring 2 unrelated forms together. We've got a heavy, rich sauce and this light, heavenly foam. We've got to bring them together in a way that will crush as few of the bubbles in the foam as possible, all right? There's a way to do it, but we're going to need a really big spatula. Now that's big, that's bigger, but this is even larger than that. It doesn't have a handle on it, but fix that. Food grade rubber band, of course. There, that's a big spatula. First step is we've got to sacrifice about 1/4 of our foam just to lighten the base enough to accept the rest of them. So this time we're just going to stir them in. Just literally stir. Don't try to be fancy with it. There we go. That's going to lighten up the mass and get it a little bit closer to the viscosity of the foam. But that is the last time we will stir this mixture, ever. From here on in, it's folding time. Okay. Now we look at what we've got left and basically visually divide it into thirds. And the first third goes right into the middle, and we fold, just digging down and sweeping over. I like my new spatula. There. In and over. Don't stir. You've got 2 motions available. You can either sweep down and fold or go down the middle and fold. Your choice. Now, I'm not worried about getting all of this integrated in. There's a little bit of white, doesn't bother me a bit. Now, we take half of the remaining foam and repeat. Lay it right on top and gently fold. I'm turning the bowl as I go. Let the bowl work for you. There. Digging down, sweeping up and over. But I don't want to do more than 2 rotations of the bowl for any 1 dose of egg white. There. And we still have a lot of egg white visible, but that's okay because we still got more to come. In fact, the next batch is everything. Next dose, I should say. All the rest of the foam. There. Again, down and up, down and over. There we go. Speed isn't as important in this as being gentle. There. Now we are going to have a few flecks of white remaining, and that is fine. I don't care about that. Now, for actually pouring this, I'm going to get rid of the handle and just use this. Here we go. Into the bowl. Nice and gently. Now, if you're lucky and you've built it right, it should come to right up to the flare in the top of the souffle if you're using a number 7. Well, I spilled a little, but that's all right. There. I'm just going to smooth the top a bit. Now, when it cooks, this souffle is going to kind of mushroom over. It's just natural expansion. If you want to restrict how it rises and put what's called a top hat on it, just take your thumb, mine's already dirty, and just make a little bit of an indentation around the edge. There. Perfect. Now, straight into the oven, and don't stop to talk to strangers. I do, however, like to take out a little bit of insurance, a disposable pie pan. I'll tell you why later. Now, set your timer for 35 minutes.
Mesdames, Messieurs, there is un soufflé in the oven. This is not a drill. I repeat, not a drill. Please refrain from stepping in la cuisine or making motions rapide or maybe dropping heavy objects. Nobody moves and nobody gets hurt. The soufflé will be fine. Merci.
Ooh, sorry, LaPaul, but hey, the soufflé looks fine. I wouldn't suggest that you bake a soufflé in an earthquake, but your everyday domestic trimmer is not going to hurt the soufflé. What will hurt the soufflé is opening this door within the first 30 minutes of cooking. That's because any reduction of heat whatsoever will permanently deflate your foam. And while we're on the subject of heat, do you trust your oven? A lot of factors go into rating the performance of an oven, but any appliance salesman will tell you there are 3 big ones.
Accuracy, evenness, and speed.
Let's talk about accuracy. You go home. You set your oven to 350 degrees. You expect it to maintain 350 degrees, but it doesn't because ovens cycle on and off. In fact, an accurate oven will create a temperature wave ranging 10 to 20 degrees above and below the target temperature, which isn't bad when you consider the fact that inaccurate ovens can go 50, 60, or even 70 degrees off target, and that's just bad for soufflés.
Well, let's not forget about evenness. Our engineers employ high technology to ensure that this model will cook evenly for a lifetime.
But as they age, door seals, heating elements, even the insulation in the walls can break down, creating hot and cold spots, and that is bad for soufflés.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. Now, if you think that your oven is guilty of really major thermal crimes, you need to get in contact with a repairman. But if we're only talking about minor infractions, consider adding some mass, like say a pizza stone. It'll act like a thermal capacitor, which will help even out all of those little fluctuations.
Well, that's fine and good, but it'll slow preheating, and this model is designed to heat up in a flash.
Yeah, that's the heat up in a flash. What's really heating up in a flash is the air inside, okay? And when the air gets hot, you come in with the food, you open the door, the heat goes. The reason why is that the walls, the ceiling, floor of the oven haven't had time to get really, really hot yet. That means a very slow temperature recovery, and that is
bad for soufflé.
You are catching on. So turn your oven on, let it hit its preheat, but then leave it on for another 15 or 20 minutes before opening the door so it can charge up. Or you can just add mass. It'll mean a much slower preheat, but a quicker recovery time, and that is
good for soufflé.
Yeah. You look familiar.
No, I don't.
Looks done, but there's only one way to be really sure. Knife, discreet punctuation here. Now, it should be ooey and gooey in the bottom, but if you see a lot of liquid running around, you want to slide it right back in for another 5 minutes. No more than that. This looks good, though. Oh, I know. You think that it's supposed to go shh and deflate just like in the movies, right? No. If you build it right, it will stand the test of time, at least for a few minutes or until all the air inside those beautiful little bubbles starts to cool and contract. Oh, as for the pie pan, here's what it's for. Easy removal. It's really tough to get hold of the sides of a souffle. This way you can just grab the edge and pull it onto a trivet. You're ready to eat. We hope we've instilled in you the confidence to try your hand and whisk at the best bubble trick we know, the souffle. Not only is it easy, it's good. Eats, that is. See you next time.